Hi everyone, welcome to the Career Breakthrough webinar. I hope all of you can see my screen and hear my voice. If you can, just drop in the chat box that you can, both my screen as well as my voice, just to ensure that the technology is working fine. Okay, good. So I see confirmations from several of you that both things are working fine. So, okay, I'm very excited to share with you this very relevant information at the very close to the start of the new year, so you could have a refocus. And I'm not sure if some of you might have attended this webinar last year also. I did that around the year end or beginning of the year, Career Breakthrough 2016. And since then, the situation has not changed as far as the general economic environment is concerned, job situation, but there are a lot of new things have come out. So I have updated a lot of content. There are some information which you might have already seen, but most of the contents are new. So it's not the same old repeat, but it's new stuff. And I need to cover a lot with you in this 90 minutes. I would like to close it at time. So I'll go a little faster, and just to ensure that you get the maximum benefit out of this webinar, though all of you who are staying till the end of the webinar, I'll send you a copy of my presentation as well as send you the recording. So only those who stay till the end, because I really want to share with those professionals who are serious to really develop their career in these difficult times. So that's an incentive for you. Also, because I'm going faster, so I'm not sure you might be catching each and everything, so you will have the luxury to really look at my copy of my presentation later on, as well as listen to the recording if you need to. So, few things about the logistics item. Give me a second. Yeah. So this would be 90 minutes. So we'll be finishing 1.5 hours from now. There are 4 parts. So what is changing? Because change is going very fast. So I'll try to cover the major trends, what is changing, and then how it is impacting the finance professionals, because most of you or all of you are from finance. So that's very relevant, that those changes, how they are impacting us. And what is working, what is not working in terms of the job search, career development, finding new opportunities, and what is the solution. So I'm not going to scare you with the problems only. I will try to give you a best solution which you could adopt and really take the matters in your hand as far as your career management is concerned. We'll do the Q&A at the end and try to cover as many questions as possible. But please keep dropping your question in the mail, in the chat box or in the question box. Someone is sitting with me, helping me with the compilation of the question, and we'll try to cover as many as possible. So if you have a question somewhere during my presentation, feel free to drop something in the chat box or question box. And please make notes, very important. As I said, all information are very practical, very relevant. So make notes and try to remove distraction. Also, this webinar is running on a technology which works very fine when you have a maximum bandwidth strength. So ensure that the applications running on your computer or your devices which are not needed, close down so that you can hear my voice clearly and also see my screen very clearly. Okay, a quick background for those of you who don't know me. So I have been for more than 18 years actually at the CFO level, working for the top Fortune 500 and private equity firms almost in all the regions in the world, Asia Pacific, Europe, Middle East, USA. I branded myself in the later part of my career as a strategy and balance scorecard expert. And lately I have been more in the leadership coaching and the CFO leadership expertise. I have been to Harvard Business School a few times to learn strategy. This is my mentor, Dr. Robert Kaplan. And last few years, I have been focused on creating Middle East CFO Alliance and also the Mecca CFO Academy. So now I'm doing full-time coaching and leadership and running the CFO community around the Middle East region. So that's my full-time job. And if you are interested to see my other contents and stuff, you can go to my blog site, which is salimsufi.com. And of course, I'm calling right now from New Jersey, where my family lives and I live. And I hope the weather is very good on your side. Most of the people are in UAE or around Gulf countries. This is a good time as far as the weather is concerned. Here in New Jersey, we have a very harsh cold weather. 2 days ago, there was the first snowfall of the season, but it's nice now. So can complain. Okay, quickly, starting with the three mega trends that are changing the dynamics of the talent market. Very important. I think this is not secret. All of you are aware, but it's very important to understand the consequences of these trends and what's going to happen and what we can do, the most important thing about it. So the first trend, which everybody knows, that the ratio of demand and supply as far as the talent is concerned is completely out of proportion. And this is true across all industries and all professions, but especially if you talk about accounting and finance profession, there is an oversupply of qualified accountants. I'm not talking of the non-qualified, only even the qualified. For example, chartered accountant used to be a very rare commodity. And in old times, if you were able to complete your chartered accountancy, a successful career was assured. Now today, I see qualified chartered accountants are doing junior level jobs like accounts receivable administrator or payable administrator, because there is so much supply, there are not many jobs to accommodate all of them. So the value of the professional qualifications have been significantly diluted. And this trend is going to continue. This is not going to stop. There is more awareness in the younger people to get qualified, number one, but also on top of it, all major professional bodies or institutions have become a lot more commercialized to offer their qualifications and give more certifications and generate some revenue for them. So that's also added a lot to this oversupply of the talent in this market. On top of this, so this is the supply side, but on the demand side, businesses have become a lot more efficient and productive, and they have learned to do more with less. So they didn't, even if there is a growth, their business is growing or sales is growing, they don't need as many people as they used to be. So with efficiency and productivity, they are very careful to hire new people. So of course, in old times where 50 people were working, now there are maybe 30 people are working or even less than that. So that has really added the fuel on the fire, this trend. And finally, the result of these two major trends is that the talent has really becoming a commodity. Employers are becoming less loyal to their employees, and all the time we hear about hiring and firing, because even very highly respected talent, it's easier to hire and replace those talents. So you call it downsizing, upsizing, wrong sizing, right sizing, whatever it is. Losing a job is not unusual nowadays. I mean, in old times, it used to be mainly performance related. If you are not doing a good job, probably you might lose your job. But today, even the very bright and very talented people, none of their fault, they are losing jobs. So it becomes a very common phenomena in this talent market. And because of this situation, fear of job security is really real. I think almost every professional has some concerns that, okay, I'm doing a good job, I'm working hard, my job looks like very promising, but look, if tomorrow another company acquire my business or another company make a joint venture, and of course they are going to do some elimination of the jobs and duplication of the jobs, remove it, then my job may be impacted. And this is real concern. It has so much dominated on the minds of the professionals that it's started to impact their performance. Because if the number one thing on your mind all the time is the security of your job, how are you going to focus on the business improvement and your functional responsibility? So it's really impacting almost everyone. So, I mean, it looks like very difficult situation for most of professionals. So there is definitely a bad news and a good news. So as I said, that it's not all dark and very gloomy. There are opportunities available. I mean, you talk to different people and you get different impressions. My own observation is definitely very tight job talent market. There are not as many jobs used to are coming. Also, if you want to grow internally, you're not looking for external opportunities and you want to grow internally, there are not as many promotions and really growth as used to be. So it's really a squeezed market. But when you look at the actual situation, I could tell you my observation that for last couple of years, I see that people who are getting multiple offers, even in these times, they are changing jobs very happily, very successfully, and sometimes they even have multiple job offers in their hand. At the same time, I also know a lot of people who are looking for jobs for more than 2 years, and sending their resumes again and again and have not got a single interview call. So both situations are there in the market. Now question is, what does it tell you? The job market is good or bad? Yes. Answer is yes, it's good and bad. It's not about the economy. It's not about the industry. It's about the individual talent. Talented people are still getting jobs, still getting offers. People who are lacking the talent, they are struggling. So that's good news and bad news. What so most important thing or most important message you could get from these situations is that it's your own growth and development which makes the difference. Don't wait for the economy to improve. Don't wait for your industry to get better. You could make yourself better much faster. That's the only thing is in your control. This quote is from one of my mentor, Jim Rohn, who said, don't wish it were easier, wish you were stronger. So we need to learn from the business model. The businesses are nowadays very matured and they have gone through a long learning curve. When there is more supply, which is very common in all industries, all businesses, and less demand, what businesses do? They try to create and develop a competitive advantage. They try to become better than their competitors. And that's the only way to really attract customers, attract to demand. And that's what the professionals and talented people have to do. Try to make themselves better than their competitors. Let me tell you, many of you might have a mindset that, look, I'm an employee. I work 8 hours a day and then I get my paycheck and that's all I need to worry about. No, that's wrong. Times have changed. Every one of us is an entrepreneur. Although we are employees, yes, we understand, technically we are employees, but we need to develop a mindset of entrepreneur. We need to think that we are in the business of selling our talent. That's exactly what we do. We have a talent, which is our main commodity, and we sell it to the people who need it. That is how we make our living. And to sell your talent, you have to do marketing, in fact, personal marketing, whether you like it or not. Today, if you're not doing personal marketing, you may significantly be impacted. Peter Drucker at one point of time said that all businesses have two functions, marketing and innovation. Marketing and innovation. Very true. I would say that this saying is also true, fully applicable to all professionals today. You have two functions only. Innovation, which means personal development and growth, and marketing, personal marketing. If people don't know about your talent, nobody is going to buy that talent. So you need to ensure that there are enough people around you who are aware of your talent, and that comes to personal branding and personal marketing. I know some people don't like it, especially accountants and finance professionals. We hate marketing, especially if we have to do it, right? But this is an essential, inevitable thing today to continue serving as a successful professional. So that's the key message here in terms of the good news, that yes, the market is tight, market is tough, but there are good opportunities if you change your focus, if you have not done so yet. Okay, so I'm trying to bring now a very important changing trend, which is not on the job market, but on the business side. And some of you might have seen one of my presentation in the last month at CFO conference. I'll just send you a video link. If you haven't done it, do that. And that's a half an hour, 30 minutes presentation, which explains this, what is changing in the business model. And I'll try to do it in a shorter time because we don't have much time to go in detail. But this is very important. It's critical and crucial to understand for finance people to notice that the business models are significantly and very rapidly changing, which is impacting our functions and our output to the business people. So let's look at this slide. This is a sort of old business model, which was there for hundreds of years. And based on this model, capital was very important to start a business. It was all about shareholders' value. And those who have capital, they would invest into plant, equipment, infrastructure, factories, warehouses, and they would create product or services, and through the sales offices, they would sell it. And once they sell it, they make some money, which becomes a profit and goes to the shareholders. Very straightforward, right? Basically, our accounting model, the traditional 500-year-old accounting model, is based on this model. So we have balance sheet, which has the place for each component here. Capital is the place, fixed assets, inventories, shareholders' value, all fits very nicely between the accounting model and this old business model. This model worked very well until, I would say, 60s, 70s, maybe 80s, when anything you could produce, you could sell as a business. I'm sure many of you might have heard the famous quote from Henry Ford, who said that someone suggested him, why don't you offer more colors to their automobiles? And he said, yeah, they can buy any color as long as it is black. So that was the seller's market that didn't care about the customers. In fact, if you also think of the famous 4 P's of marketing, in those 4 P's, there is no customer. There was no customer focus. Customer was just not important. What happened since 80s, model started to change. And what I'm showing you on the screen is a sort of new business model. And notice it. Shareholders' value is still on the top. Yes, these are the people who start the business, they bring their money, and they need a return on their investment, rightly so. But below that, everything has changed. So compared to the capital, which was very important to start a business, what is critical resource today? You don't need capital, you need right people. If you have the right people, you can bring capital. Capital is a commodity. Banks are sitting on the tons and billions of dollars of cash. If you have a compelling business plan, you can get capital, no problem. But you need to start with the right people. If you have the right people, they can bring the right technology, they can create the right culture, they can deploy the right leadership, which ultimately creates branding, customer value actually. So in the new business model, customer is very, very important. Customer is, in fact, the most important stakeholders among the shareholders, customers, and employees for most of the companies. And through the branding and relationship, so when employee is enabled by the leadership, culture, and technology, they are empowered to create a very strong brand and create relationship with the customer, which ultimately creates a lot of customer value, which ultimately translated into shareholders' value. So shareholders' value is basically there, right? How does it impact the accounting model? Now, in the accounting model, we have capital, fixed assets, inventory, warehouses, place for everything. We don't record customer value in accounting systems. Notice that? We don't recognize relationship and brand as assets. We don't even record or monitor employees and leadership and culture as our resources or assets. We charge them off as our expenses, right? That's a big difference. And if you look at some of the very successful models, these are the most important assets. In fact, in accounting terminology, you can say there are a lot of intangibles in the new business models. Old business models was about tangibles, materiality, all those things. New model, there is a lot of intangibles: customer value intangible, brand intangible, relationship, employees, technology, culture. This is all intangible. And in accounting systems, I hope you understand that, most of you are qualified accountants, that we have very limited rules to book intangible with very high level of restrictions. So in the new business model, what is happening, that business people are trying to create value. In the old business model, it was about the profit maximization. In the new business model, is about the value creation. So all business managers are trying to create customer value or the value, and ultimately it's translated to shareholders. We don't see that from finance and accounting. We don't recognize that. We only recognize when it is converted into shareholders' value. So when the whole cycle of value creation is coming to an end, at that time, what happens? That revenue recognition takes place by selling the item. So in case of Apple, their customers are hardly brand loyal. And so they're already ready to buy stuff, right? They have not yet bought, but they are ready to buy. That's a customer value. When you have loyal customers, that's a customer value, because it would be easier to sell to those customers. So when Apple launches a new version, people line up night before to get those versions and new products. That's customer value. And when it's translated into shareholders' value, people buy it, a revenue is booked, and profit is created. We only recognize that activity. Unfortunately, that is the end of the value creation cycle, which means that we finance and accounting people are out of the entire cycle except the last end transaction, where value creation cycle is coming to an end. Let me show you a few more examples. Let's talk about Apple, the #1 most admired companies in the world for the last several years. Apple is founded in 1976. Sales is close to $143 billion. Two things I would like to notice here. The book value of the company is $129 billion. And I think all of you understand what is the book value. This is the value we have recorded on the balance sheet, 129 billion. Compared to that, the market value of this company, where investors are willing to pay a price for this company, it's $737 billion. Now, look at the gap. What is the $600 billion gap between the book value and the market value, and what does it represent? Why are we unable to record in the financial systems? Because anybody look at the balance sheet, they would not see $600 billion, they only see $129 billion. Now, most of the smart investors understand what does it relate to, but technically, we are not recognizing that at all. And if you ask anyone, what is the most important resource of Apple? It's people, it's leadership, it's innovation, it's culture, again, all intangibles. So if I could take you back to this new business model slide over here, most of the value of today's successful modern businesses lies in intangibles: customer value, brand, relationship, employees, technology, culture, leadership, etc., which we don't recognize in our accounting and financial systems. Now, I'm not saying that we don't understand that. There are a lot of smart people, talented people in finance and accounting who understand these. But the dilemma is that we don't have a structure to record and recognize that. If we don't have a structure, we don't have a structured help to the business people. Business people need help all the time from the finance and accounting people. But since there is no structure, we can help them informally, but there is no formal structure and process to help them create customer value, create branding, create a leadership, and really use them, the intangible resources of leadership, culture, technology, and employee, or even value them or measure them. So the modern business models are creating basically a gap between the financial management and the business management. Let's take a look at another fantastic company, Google. Now, Google, 82 billion in sales and 128 billion in book value. But look at the market value, $533 billion. That's huge. This $533 billion is actually double the value of a company like General Electric, which is, I think, $237 billion. $533 billion for an internet company, basically, right? It is basically an internet company. Now they're going into hardware. Motorola they acquired in 2012, but basically internet company. $533 billion is actually more than the combined value of General Motors, Ford, and Boeing. Imagine that. Three industrially giant companies, and that Google has more value than that. What does it represent? So I could check the balance sheet and see cash and receivables and assets. But what about $400 billion gap? Again, that's the intangibles. That's the culture. That's the leadership. That's the people. That's the technology. That's the innovation. That's the future promise. Investors are not stupid. Looking at the balance sheet for $128 billion and bidding a price of $533 billion, they know the potential of the company. Today's valuation of the good businesses is not about current profitability or current value of the company. It's about the future promise. And all those companies, Apple, Google, Amazon, name it, they have huge future potential. In fact, Amazon even is hardly profitable. They have very tight margins because of the products like commodities and high competition. But their market value is almost 20 times of the book value. Again, it's a future promise. I'll give you one example to explain what customer value is, so you could understand and relate it to other situations as well. We all use Google products, Gmail, and according to the statistics available, Google has 1 billion active Gmail users. 1 billion, imagine that, 1 billion active Gmail users. And most of them, not only Gmail, they use Google Maps, Google Calendar, Google other facilities, and we don't pay anything, right? But we benefit a lot. So today, if Google decides to charge a small amount, like $10 a month, I think most people would happily pay that, the benefit they are getting. And if that happens, Google would immediately create a profit of $10 billion a month. Think of this, $10 billion. Even if you discount it, you say, okay, not everybody would buy it, fine. 50% people will buy it. Google would create a profit of $5 billion a month, $60 billion in a year. Imagine that. That's the potential. That's very low-hanging fruit for them. Why are they not doing it? Are they stupid? No, they are very smart people. they want to accumulate the customer value as much as they could because they are not short of cash. They're not in a hurry. These companies are very long-term in their thinking. So they are building up equity, customer equity, and customers are very loyal. Same goes for Skype service from Microsoft and Apple. I mean, Apple are selling tangible products, but still there is huge customer equity. As I mentioned, when a new version launch, people line up outside stores a night before. That's the customer value. And these companies focus on those customer value because it becomes easier to sell them in future. It's not one-time sales. It's not about maximizing the profit today. It's about keeping the customer with you as loyal, in fact, as your fan, which really true in the case of these companies like Google and Apple. So that's a new model. I hope you understand that very clearly now. Now, what is the consequence for finance people? So here is another flow chart which actually explains the new business model in a very simple fashion. So as I said, that it's not about profit maximization, it's about creating value creation. And how do we create the value? If you look at this chart, it really employs the main focus, main resources. So you bring the right people, which is true for Google, Apple, Amazon. You bring the right people and you enable them by providing right technology, systems, processes, leadership, and culture. And they are empowered. Once they are empowered, they are focused creating customer value, all those things, creating loyalty, creating brand, creating relationship. And once that is created in a sizable chunk, it's over a period of time converted into shareholders' value. And shareholders are also happy with this situation. They are much more patient now to create more value for themselves in the future rather than jumping on maximizing the profit today. Again, think of this business model in relation to the accounting model we have. If you try to fit your accounting model to this flow of value creation, we are not here anywhere except shareholders' value. As I mentioned earlier, that all the efforts by businesses which are being spent to bring the right employees, develop them into more valuable resources, bring the technology and systems, developing culture and leadership, and then ultimately creating customers' value, we are not there. Accounting is not involved into it. That's not our business, right? But it is very important for the business people. We only stand when that value, customer value, is being converted into revenue, which we call revenue recognition. We are there to book the sales. But that's the end of the value creation process. Is that our role? Absolutely not. So that is creating a wider gap between finance and business people. I mean, business people are nice. They are very patient. They don't demand it, but they significantly suffer from this lack of support in these areas. So if you have to redefine that, okay, I understand the gap. Actually, it's a growing gap between finance and business. So what should be the role of finance? Now, here is my definition, new role of finance. New role of finance is not helping only with the profit maximization, but maximize value creation by measuring the value created. So are we able to measure customer value created? No, absolutely not. Even many finance people even don't understand fully what customer value is, and not to talk about the measurement of that, but that should be the number one function. We do measure profit, by the way. We do measure the tangible monetary value, but we don't measure generally intangibles. Number one, understanding what drives value. Do we understand that? Hardly, I would say, in general. And finally, minimizing the leakage of values. It's not only about the financial controls, it's about the business controls. And there is a lot of leakage of not only the monetary value, but also the total business value or the total value creation opportunities which are missed out. That also the finance role should be the finance role to really cover that. And we are hardly present in this area. And that's really an opportunity. This is an opportunity. That's why, if you have heard me before, I emphasize learning business, learning strategy. We know more than necessary the accounting part. Most of us are qualified professional accountants, right? And we know enough of debit credit, we know enough of IFRSs. This is the time. Business models are changing very fast. This is the time for us to learn a little bit more business and more strategy, and very importantly, to differentiate ourselves. Now, the opportunity is, but let's pay a little bit more attention on the problem before I go to opportunity. So who is responsible for this situation? generally speaking, our traditional education system is becoming obsolete very fast. I'm talking about not only in Pakistan and India and Middle East, but even in the developed part of the world, a general education system is significantly lagging behind. Think of this. In today's time, do we really need to spend 4 to 6 years in college to get a degree? Really? That's 2016, would be 17 in 1 week. It takes, and on the professional side, which is supposed to be closer to the business and industry, let's talk about accounting now. In today's time, it takes several years to bring a new accounting standards, 2 to 4 years generally. 2 to 4 years to bring a new accounting standard? Well, industries change, business models change, companies are created and die during those time period. We don't have that much time. So the level of innovation on the education side, even on the professional education side, is much slower than the innovation pace taking place on the business side. Much faster. I mean, look at the businesses, what they're doing. Every day you hear of some new kind of service or products. Fantastic. So they are innovating much faster, and we are, generally speaking, on the educational side, lagging behind. But on the professional education, accounting, finance education, we are lagging behind even more than the general education side. So, of course, what we can do, we cannot change the educational system ourselves or in short term, but we can change something which is related to us. That's in our control. So opportunity is really that, yeah, we understand there is a gloomy side in the world. Change is happening very fast that many people will cope with. Education is lagging behind, despite the fact that we are all mostly qualified accountants, but we still lack a lot of knowledge and expertise from which is needed by the businesses. So what we can do? Well, you can wait for the economy to change, which is not going to change, or you can be proactive and start developing yourself to meet the requirement and meet the opportunities available from the business side, which means then learn and develop more. It's ongoing requirement now. So as I said in the past time, it was you usually assume that if you have a major qualification like a master's degree or MBA or CA or CPA, you are good to really go with your career for the rest of your career or life. Today it's not true. These qualifications, look, I mean, I talked about education system becoming obsolete. In many disciplines, what you learn in the first and second year of your college degree becomes obsolete by the time you are in the third and fourth year. This is true in several disciplines. That is how fast the world is changing. So learning is a continuous requirement for all professionals to keep our talent in demand from the business side, which can use our talent. So let's focus on the finance profession for a while. I would say that you can split the typical finance career into 2 phases. First phase I call early to mid career, and usually this career is started by the newly qualified accountants, the people who have done their CA or CPA or CMA, and they enter this industry. And if they are able to get a good start at the junior management level, then they make good progress if they are so lucky to land in a good company, a good job. Usually the progress is good and faster during the first 10, I would say 10, 12, or maybe 15 years. That's the early to mid career, because businesses do need accountants. I'm not saying accountants are useless. Accountants are definitely needed in the industry, but mainly on the jobs which are related to the transactional or really the low challenging requirement from the business side. And newly qualified accountants who are entering as a fresh entrants into the profession do a good job for 10, maybe 15 years. But as they continue to move forward, or they want to move forward, they hit near the mid of their career. And that happens somewhere between after they have spent 12 or 15 years in their career. So they have learned enough. They have reached to a middle management position. And mostly they are ambitious. They want to further continue to grow. And problem starts at that point. Like a midlife crisis, a mid-career crisis, that they are not moving forward. And the problem is that the challenges or the requirements are very different for mid to top career professionals. It's not about the technical knowledge. It's not about how many IFRS you know. It's mainly about meeting the business expectation and requirement. And mainly two areas most of the people struggle is the business knowledge, which I would say is strategy knowledge, because it's really most of the businesses are at the advanced level. They are into very much in the strategy process. And the other thing is the leadership talent really matters for those mid-career professionals. So if I take you back to the typical pattern of the finance career, in most of the organization, there are some business models which may be different than what you are seeing on the screen. But typically, there are four areas you could really develop your career. You go into the mainstream financial accounting, become a chief accountant, financial controller, or you can go to the treasury side, or you can go to the audit side, or you could go to the business controller side, business support side. This is also called in some companies as the finance business partnering. Now, I hope that you understand the fundamental differences between the four areas. Based on the historical patterns, the question is that which career path really takes you fastest to the CFO route or CFO role? Historically, it was the mainstream accounting, the chief accountant, the financial controller role, which would develop you or make you switch or reach to the CFO level historically. Lately, the trend is changing fast. And more people from the business controllership or the finance business partnering are going towards CFO roles. And by the way, I'm not saying that treasury or the auditor side is not qualified for CFO. Some people do reach, but very little, because these fields are considered very special, highly technical areas. And most people reach to the chief auditor role or chief treasurer, but that is what is really the potential of those, generally speaking, with some exceptions. But the main competition between the two, financial controller and business controller. So because the businesses have become much more business oriented or strategy oriented, they also need people at the senior finance level who know business, who know strategy. And of course, if you reach to the CFO level, you do know some level of business and strategy. But the people who are in this business controller side or finance business partnering side, they have more opportunity to learn business, because most of the time they are working with their business partners. And by working business partners, their mindset is starting to change. I myself moved from pure accounting discipline to business accounting or business support area much earlier in my life. So I always considered myself an accountant with distorted mind, because I really couldn't really fit into the typical thinking mindset of accounting and finance. And I was always more on the side of business to really understand and appreciate their problems and their challenges. So this is a developing sign that businesses are really looking forward and needing more business-oriented finance professionals. And more bright people are really taking the option to go toward business controllership or finance business partnering, and they know that the route goes faster to the CFO or senior C-level position role. So that's one trend to be observed here. Now, I quoted about the innovation and marketing from Peter Drucker. This is another quote from a wise man 200 years ago, that look, things will change, especially in today's time. The only thing which will make you succeed and survive, adaptability, how adaptable you are. That's the only qualification you need. And let me congratulate you, all of you who are on this webinar, because you are one step ahead of your competitors. If you're sitting in webinar, I know that you have a different mindset. You want to learn new things and learn faster. That is why you are here at the late evening, sitting in this webinar. So you already have a competitive advantage. You need to make it sharper and polish it further to really stand out from the crowd. That's the only thing we do. Now, going back to the earlier comment that there is more supply than demand, we cannot change that. It's not going to change in the short term. Even the economy gets better, oil and gas industry gets better, that ratio is not going to change. There would always be more competition. The only thing you could do is make yourself look better, make yourself look differentiated, make your brand noticeable for the other, and then you will have more chances to get those positions which are still available in the marketplace. So in the next slide, I'm going to share a framework. Now, this is probably the most important slide of my presentation. So pay attention here. I'm just taking a sip of water. So it's actually, as I said, it's a framework, or you could call it an old paradigm and new paradigm. And if you understand my analogy that we are all entrepreneurs, then you would understand this framework much better. If we are entrepreneur in the business of selling and marketing our talent, that makes our living, right? Very important. We have 4 areas to manage the talent business. Our inner game, which is our mindset, our outer game, which is our brand, what you offer, your product and services, and how you offer your marketing, right? These are the 4 important dimensions of your talent management business as an entrepreneur. Where we are, so let's look at the old paradigm. Now, old paradigm, you may be different. You're already maybe moving into the new paradigm, but believe me, 95% of the finance and accounting professional is still living in old paradigm. Is still living in old paradigm, and that's a problem, but that's also an opportunity. Because if you move from old paradigm to new paradigm, you are the top 5%, not 95%. You have less competition. Let me show you what is in there. So inner game, mindset. What is on our mind all the time? Fear of job security. That's really a serious issue because it's impacting the quality of the output. There are very talented people, but they cannot really focus on things which they should because of this fear of job security. Our outer game, our branding is financial expert. We love to be called financial expert, and that is what we really show as our brand to the world. Finance expert, accounting expert. What we offer, I have chartered account. I'm a chartered accountant. I have MBA. When did you do it? 20 years ago. What is your experience? 20 years. But nobody cares about that. They care about your current skill and really talent. How do we do our marketing? Our CV and resume. That's what 90% people do. Just send their CV, print it and send it, print it and send it, and nothing is happening. So that's the old paradigm to run your talent business if you really take it as an entrepreneurial challenge. What new paradigm requires or demands? So CV is not working anymore. What is working? And that's probably maybe for another time to discuss in detail. You can read some of my blogs why you're not getting any response to your resumes. But the thing is that recruiters and employers don't have time to go through hundreds and thousands of resumes or CVs. They basically, it's easier for them to look on the online, mainly LinkedIn, and find out if a recruiter has a good position. Recruiter only need 50 people, 50 prospects to find the right person. So rather than posting a job and trying to handle 500 to 1,000 resumes, CVs, they say, let me find myself 50 people on the LinkedIn, and from the 50 people, I can narrow it down to 5 people I need to interview and 1 person to be hired. Now, the question is, are you visible on LinkedIn? Can people find you? I'm running this, I'm leading this mastermind coaching group, and I'm also running this coaching program. So I have gone through more than 100 people in the last 1 year, gone through their where they stand in terms of their visibility, and it's very shocking. Many people, many talented, by the way, very smart people, even don't know what to do. So you need to be found. People need to find you. Only then you get the opportunity. So that's about the marketing. What you offer, your product, services. As I said, companies care less about your about your educational credentials or experience. What they care, your skills, talents, and achievement. What you could do. Okay, you are a CPA, chartered accountant, CMA, and blah blah blah. But what could you do? Could you help me grow my business or make me more profitable or bring more cash? Your branding is really, there are plenty of accountants around. So don't try to portray yourself as an accounting or finance professional brand. Companies need business-oriented finance experts, strategic knowledge, strategic CFO, strategic controller. That's what they need. You need to change your brand. And mindset, I'll share with you quickly 6 mindset of corporate success, and just believe those things, develop those mindset, and that will take care of your fear of job security. So just contemplate on this framework and see which are the areas you need to improve and change. But really, your new paradigm is the key to your success going forward. So quickly, 6 mindset of corporate success I propagate. There is also a couple of videos available on YouTube in my channel. You could see that. But let me quickly explain that. So number one mindset, you need to believe into these mindset, by the way, to really completely change your game of your career development. So we are living in a free agent society, which means that our jobs are at will for both parties. Your employer would keep you employed as long as they see a value coming from you, and you will continue with an employer as long as you see value, enough value created for you. The day you don't see that value coming up, or the employer don't see that you are putting in enough value, that relationship is terminated. It's contractual. All the talk about that, oh, you are our employee, part of our family, is really BS stuff. The reality is that all employments are contractual based on the mutual benefit. So you need to believe into it, number one. So you don't get upset if that contract is terminated. Second thing, all jobs are temporary, really. You could work for one employer for 20 years if you're lucky. My father worked for the same employer for 40 years. It's historical. It's no more difficult to find those examples. But jobs are temporary. Profession is permanent. If you are a CFO, probably you would remain a CFO. If you're a controller, probably you would remain in finance. But your jobs would be changing from company to company. So what you need to do, I'm not suggesting that you don't pay attention to of course you need to pay full attention to your current job, because that's keeping you survive economically, and also need to focus on your development. Your development would take place at the job as well as in the profession. So you need to develop your professional ties with your institutes or with an association or with other places where you could continue to go back outside your work and learn what is happening in latest development of your profession. That's very important. So keep focusing. Like, I mean, if you have attended Mecca CFO Alliance conferences, then you know that this is the place, this is the network. You can keep coming back because this would be permanent based on your choice. You would continue to learn from your peers or your other networking people in the group and still learn, even if you cannot learn at your job. So third mindset, it's not about work-life balance, it's about work-life integration. So lately, I have been paying special attention. We started a mastermind group recently, and in the mastermind group, we also included work-life integration as our one of the important area to focus upon. And I myself learned a lot because I see all the time that good professionals like you are burning out. Finance and accounting profession is heavily burdened with the requirement, and people are burning out long hours, long hard work. So we cannot live in compartment like 9 to 5 my job and then my personal. It's one life and it's limited, it's short. So we need to integrate. And again, this is not the place to discuss all those work-life integration, but you need to think how to improve those areas. And growth is a natural human need. So you need to grow. If you are stuck in your job, it has started to impact you mentally and productively because you feel that you're not growing, and it has started to impact the quality of the performance. If you're not growing in your job, then that's the best way. If you grow in your job, that gives you a lot of psychological support that you are growing. But if you're not growing in your job, you need to learn something outside work to develop your professional career, and that would give you a feeling that you're still growing, not maybe in your job, but at least professionally and career-wise. Now, what matters is your achievement, not roles and responsibilities. Many people make a mistake emphasizing what are my functions, what are my responsibilities. Nobody cares about your responsibilities. They care about your achievements. What have you done? What you could do, especially during interviews and job search. And finally, you are responsible. Wherever you are today, you are the only person you could hold responsible for that. Accept that. Because if you have a tendency to blame others, blame world, my boss is not good, my company is not good, economy is bad, my industry is struggling, you are a victim. You become a victim. It's a victim feeling. When you have the victim feeling, you lose control because you say it's not my fault, so what could I do? I can't do anything. You wait for other people to help you, but you take responsibility. Even if it is not your fault, you encourage yourself to do something about the problems in hand. So 6 mindset, very important for you to learn and believe. Now, quickly, let's talk about the hiring process. Typically, the hiring process has only 2 steps. Number 1, getting interviews, and number 2, getting the job. Very simple, right? Now, people mix it up. People prepare their CVs and their CVs to get the job. That's the wrong way to approach job search. Your first, as I said, two distinct steps. Your first, if you are not in the interviews yet, your first step just to focus getting interviews. How do you do it? You communicate a higher perceived value to the prospective employers and recruiters, so they could focus on you and bring you for more conversation. How do you do it? Through CV or your LinkedIn profile. More on the LinkedIn profile lately than CV. The challenge here is that how do you attract their attention? So you may have a fantastic CV and a fantastic LinkedIn profile, but if people are not attracted to that, people are not reading it, how do you communicate a higher perceived value to them? That's the main challenge. Just stay over there. If you are passed through the interviews or you are getting interviews, your main challenge is to use the interview to get the job. How do you get the job? During the interviewing conversation, you confirm that perceived value. Now, it's not about your qualification, experience, and background, because if you are called for an interview, your resume already fit the requirement of the job. They have called you because your background information, background credentials fit the job requirement. They wanted to see your actual performance, how do you demonstrate the proof of those perceived value. So in interview, it's about confirming your perceived value. The challenge remains, interview is not a conversation, it's a performance. So how do you deliver that performance? So let me just elaborate on these 2 points so you could understand that very critical process in the job search process. So a couple of important highlighters here. I will pass that very quickly. Number one, you need to really worry about creating a personal brand for you, because if you don't have a brand, you don't have an identity. And try to target yourself to be the top 10% in your profession wherever you are, just as a motivator. Number two, networking. Networking is inevitable nowadays. So you may have a full-time job, you say I don't have time for networking, you are killing yourself. You are basically getting yourself out of the market. So networking or structured networking is part of your job. You need to find a time for it. Even if you don't find on a work days, then find some time on the weekdays. You need to network in your professional bodies, in your industry, recruiters, other places. Thirdly, your visibility. I just talked about it. If you're not visible, you don't exist in this world. You need to ensure, especially on the social media, especially on LinkedIn, that you are visible and you're noticeable. So I brought 2 examples of resume because this is an area many people struggle over there, and they have a resume which they think it's working, it's not working really, because 2 years they did not receive any interview call. So what you are seeing on the screen looks like a good CV or resume. It's really not, because when you send this CV to recruiters or employers, they have only 5 to 10 seconds to take a look and decide whether they want to read it or not. And 5 to 10 seconds, this CV doesn't tell anything, because for 5 to 10 seconds, nobody could read your CV. They only glance through, they take a look at it, and whatever they get, they make a quick decision within 5 to 10 seconds whether I need to read it further or not. So this doesn't tell. It's a crowded, congested, noisy resume. I see a lot of words, I see a lot of contents, but I'm not finding it easier to read it. So if I'm a recruiter, I'll say pass, let's look at something else. Here is another resume. Now this resume or CV looks much better in appearance. I'm still not read it, I'm just glancing through, but I could see the summary, the headlines and subheadlines and some of the key information where this person brings in on the table. What are the expertise, what are the experience, and even I could see some of the job roles and education as well. Now this tells me at least some critical information item in the 5 to 10 seconds, and that if these are good, these are close to what I'm looking for, that motivates me to go through the CV in detail, and that is where you create more attention and attraction to your resume. So don't get tempted to put everything on your CV. CV is not to get a job, CV is to get an interview. You need to put enough content which attract the reader to call you for an interview and talk further, and keep all those detailed information for the interview conversation. This is just a glance on a very good LinkedIn profile. So you need to ensure that your LinkedIn profile really looks very professional, which means that it's a marketing document actually. It's not only content, marketing document. You need to bring images, graphs, charts, and relevant information, logos also. So images, logos really beautify your profile, look like a marketing document, and of course the contents. So interview, I said, is a performance. It's not a conversation or talk. It has 2 aspects. contents plus delivery. So many people make a mistake. They go to interview and say, okay, I'm available to answer any question, ask me. Big mistake. It's your performance. You have more burden to show your performance than the questionnaire. So contents, of course, you have to have good stories, but how do you deliver is also very critical. So number one, try to talk more business than finance. Yeah, there would be question about finance, but the leverage or your competitive advantage is to show your brand that you know more business and strategy, and in addition to finance. That makes you very different and look differentiated. Number two, body language. You need to learn how to control your body language. It's your confidence. I mean, you look at some of the current examples. Donald Trump, I don't like him, but he won the election based on his self-confidence. And even in an extremely pressured situation, he was very able to maintain and manage his body language. So not a good role model for me or for many people, but at least there are a few things to learn from him. So body language really matters. How do you talk? How do you deliver your performance or conversation? Energy, sure, learn it. If you don't have a highly energetic profile, learn it. That's easier. This is a number one game changer. Number one game changer. Because why people are hired? Because interviewer like them. And in order to like them, you have to have a lot of passion and positive energy. Show your excitement for the job you are talking about. Stories. The best way to really communicate the contents, what you want to communicate, bring stories, make rehearsal, develop short 2 minute stories and rehearse them. And finally, ask questions. Interview doesn't mean that you are the only answering end. You need to drive the conversation. Sometimes when the conversation is not going to the right direction, it is your responsibility. Now, you are not an interviewer, very clear, but you could drive the conversation by asking pertinent questions. Bring the interviewer to the right path which you want to talk about. Politely ask, can I ask a question? And 99% of the time they will say, yes, you can. And that is how you control the conversation, drive the conversation in interviews. Okay, so two things in the interview again: highlight your achievement, not your roles and responsibilities, and enhance your business acumen, more strategy and business than really accounting and finance. So I'm not saying that you don't need to know accounting and finance. Of course, most of us are qualified accountants. We know more than enough accounting already, but it's time to learn business and strategy. So let's come back to the solution part. So I have been involved in this CFO leadership stuff for now almost 3 years, mainly in the Middle East region. So I know a little bit about the trends and what is working, what is not working. In fact, 2 years ago, we came up, so I was always thinking that how to really solve this problem and what should work from a professional development point of view. And we developed a CFO leadership competency model, which included the several competencies which are really required to reach to a CFO role. So many people, 2 years ago, I made a brief survey. Many people asked, the number one question on their mind was, what it takes to become a CFO mid-career? And I said, I'll try to answer that. So I said, 3 areas, 3 expertise, 3 leadership qualities: personal leadership, public leadership, and strategic leadership. Personal leadership is working on yourself. And as I said, that finance and accounting profession is very demanding, and you need to be really prepared for yours. Unfortunately, the things which really matter are not taught in the college, university, or institutions, and we need to learn on our own. So your energy, your productivity, I call it peak performance, is very important. Then you need to learn those productivity techniques and also ensure that there is enough integration in your work and life. It's a very demanding profession. As you move up, the demands of your work and profession would only increase. So you need to ensure that you have a good command over productivity, peak performance, and also understand and can implement work-life integration part. Then emotional intelligence is number one requirement for CFO roles, emotional intelligence. Now, some people think they know, but really they don't know. So you need to really spend some serious time learning it. Personal branding is the key to your personal marketing. Don't neglect that. On the public, so this is all about self-improvement or self-control or self-discipline. When it comes to the public leadership, you have to deal with a lot of people. As a CFO, you will be dealing with a lot of people from different disciplines, different mindsets. And over there, you need to have several talents at their edge. Your communication and presentation skills are number one. Unfortunately, in finance and accounting, We don't have very good level of presenters. If not, you need to learn it. You can always learn it. No matter what age, what point of career you are, you can always learn it. Authentic leadership is a very deep subject. I'm not sure if I have time to really explain that, but this is what we are covering in our mastermind program. Relationship. Relationship is the vehicle on which you ride your career journey. If there is no vehicle, there is no journey. So pay attention to it. And finally, service orientation. This means that finance and accounting is a support function, not a controlling function. Now, there is some part of the controlling involved, but you have to have a mindset of serving other people in the business. And that's the best way. Finally, strategy. Very important, critically important. The whole value creation thing I talked about, you really cannot fully comprehend and you cannot really apply and support businesses unless you understand these strategies. And we cover 4 areas in my coaching program. Strategic thinking, that is where you need to start, because to do strategy, you need to be a strategist. And business models are changing very fast. We need to learn about business models. Value creation is itself is a whole subject and area. You need to go deeper. And finally, performance management. It's no more about financial management. There is no financial management in today's model. Today's model are fully integrated. You cannot run financial management standalone, isolated. You need to integrate with the businesses, and you should be involved in the performance management, which is the right role and responsibility for CFO. So this is a model. If you focus upon going forward, wherever you are in your career, even if you are CFO, because these things are not taught anywhere. I have learned by trial and error these things in my own career, in my 20 years career as a CFO, observing a lot of people, and in the last 3-4 years, working with hundreds of CFOs in the region and looking at what careers are developing, what careers are struggling, and ultimately coming out with this framework. So I'm very proud to really share this framework with you, which is probably the most practical framework based on my research anywhere available currently for a CFO leadership role. So it's mainly for CFO, but it's also applicable to other leadership role in the business. Now let me explain to you another framework or mindset. Maybe you might have heard it, but it's very relevant here. Usually there are 4 levels of awareness or 4 levels of learning, you can call it. So you see 4 boxes on your screen, box 1, 2, 3, and 4, and these are the levels. So for box number 1, which is basically you don't know what you don't know, not aware of a skill you lack. In other words, you don't know what you don't know. Usually babies fit in there. When we are born, of course, we don't have that level of intellect and understanding that we know what we need to. So we don't know what we don't know as a baby. But as we started to go elementary schools, we started to understand that there are things we need to learn, and we move into box 2, right? Box 2 is you know what you don't know. That's a good place. Once you're in the box 2, which is conscious incompetence, you make efforts to learn something, to be competent. And if you continue to do that, you move into box 3, which is that you learn something consciously and you become competent. Journey does not stop there. The top leaders really is the box 4. Box 4 is where you are competent, but you are doing it unconsciously. The best analogy of driving. So as a young child, you don't know that you need to really learn any driving, but as you are growing, you realize in your teenage that you need to learn driving. You move from box 1 to box 2. And then when you start learning, you're driving. You're in box 3, but holding the steering wheel with both hands, you're very consciously driving, right? But soon after, you're in box 4. You're driving unconsciously. You're drinking coffee, you're talking to other people. Maybe you're chatting and texting on your phone and you're driving. That's box 4. That's the mastery level. And it's not only for driving, it's for every other skill. Business leadership, professional leadership development, becoming a strategic CFO is also part of the same cycle. You start from box 1, 2, 3, and reach to 4. Now here is an interesting thing. I said that mostly babies are in box 1, but you may find, if you look around, you may find there are some matured adults who are also in box 1. They don't know what they don't know. And if I narrow down to the finance profession, a quite big chunk of the professionals also fall into this. I said that you are ahead of game. You are more mature because you are sitting in this webinar. Majority of the finance professionals don't think they have to learn anything. They are not wasting their time in webinars and all those things. They don't know what they don't know. And many CFOs fall into this category because simply by working in a business, they think they know a strategy. They have no idea what a strategy is. They have no idea what how today's business model works. They are in box one. They don't know what they don't know. Let me congratulate you that you are already in box one, box two, and maybe box three, and you are making effort to ultimately reach to the box four. That's very important framework to keep in mind whatever you are learning. So one of my mentors, Jim Brown, you might have heard him, he has a lot of good saying, and one of my favorite quote from him is, he said, formal education will make you a living, self-education will make you a fortune. And he said long time ago. Now today, nothing can be more true than this quote, that our traditional educational system is lagging behind, and we have to take matters in our hand. Businesses are innovating much faster, and they need good people. By the way, let me share with you a confirmed fact. I was talking to a senior executive recruiter from one of the top search firms in the world. He's a good friend. And he said that, look, most of the positions available currently for CFO and controller role, a significant part of that is the roles where employer want to change the incumbent. So there is already a person doing the job of controller or CFO, but employer, the business is not happy, and they want to confidentially remove and replace another more talented person. And all these searches are confidential, so you may not hear about them. Now this is reality. Why? Because businesses really demand much more talented people. Businesses need the people with high level of strategy understanding and leadership skills. So if someone is working there for 20 years, they cannot wait for that person to retire, really. They are moving much I'm They need to replace that person, and many significant chunk of those open positions currently are from that part. So that's again an opportunity. I'm saying that again and again, that there are issues, there are some tight markets, and there are some problems, but there is a lot of opportunity if you have the right mindset and move into the right direction. So the question is, when it comes to the self-education, and again, I mean, most of us really don't have time to go back to the school and university if they were offering these things. They're not offered by them. So we need to do something on our own. So what could you do for self-education? You can go for training, mentoring, or coaching. Now, traditional training is not working really. I have been in training for 20 years as myself, corporate trainer. And lately, people don't have time to, even for one day, they can get out of their work and go to the training. And even if they are able to find some time to get out, they suffer a lot on their work. But look, if you go to the 2 or 3 day workshop, what do? The first day, probably you get some good ideas. Second day, you are tired. Third day is almost dead. And within a week after you come back from the training, it's all gone back to where we started. Waste of time, waste of money. So more effective models are probably, you need to find a mentor, and maybe you need to find a coaching. So the difference between coaching and mentors, very quickly, is that mentors, if you're lucky to find a mentor, is good in your early start of a career, because it's a little passive, it's long-term, it's relationship-based. It basically, if you ask something from mentor will give you an answer. That's mentoring. Compared to that, coaching is much active and much more task-driven, task-oriented. So it's very focused on the short term, its specific needs, it's very structured, it's performance-driven, and it's advisory and directive. So it's not only just giving an advice and forget about it. Coach really works with the person and try to develop that talent. That's why I chose to offer these training and other advice on a coaching basis. So you might have noticed that for the last 2-3 years, we are offering coaching programs more and more from the CFO Academy, because I have learned myself from trial and error that the best effective model for the people like you is coaching. Is very, very task oriented and focused in the short term, and it's all practical, by the way. So in our mastermind coaching program and CFO coaching program, we are not teaching any theories. It's everyday practical stuff where you could learn today, and tomorrow you would be applying at your job because you're already in a practical area. So coaching, my advice, find a coach, and that would be most cost effective as well as time effective. Now, just to continue on that part, as I said, that we are doing our best efforts to really help the professionals like you. And these programs are nowhere available, so people are really jumping on it. We introduced the CFO coaching program and CFO mastermind, and we just, by the way, finished the second batch of mastermind, which was filled very quickly. There is so much demand that there is a waiting list now, and we cannot meet that capacity. So we have been working on another idea where we could take more people in a more cost-effective manner and more efficient manner, so maximum people take benefit of. So we are launching CFO coaching club now. Now this would be, in this coaching club, it's a month-to-month training. First of all, there is no long-term commitment. So many people really don't know what would be their job tomorrow. So yeah, I want to learn, but I cannot really commit for 3 months or 6 months or 1 year. So this program is based on monthly commitment, monthly enrollment. So you come for a month, you learn something. If you like it, your condition, your situation allows, you continue. If not, you can withdraw anytime. So that's one. But it's a monthly cycle. Every month for 3 hours, 2 sessions for 90 minutes, I would be teaching you strategy and leadership stuff directly myself. That's one. So how do we do? First week of the month, usually we do in the evening on a weekend, a 90-minute coaching session on a specific topic. Like I take the emotional intelligence or personal branding, and we go through in detail from a CFO, senior finance leadership point of view. Then in the second week, we have another 90 minutes to 2 hour session where we take your questions. So you learned something in the first session, you apply it, and there are practical issues. You come back and you raise your question, and we try to discuss that and try to answer those questions. Third week, we bring an external expert, not me, but maybe a senior CFO or an executive recruiter, to just come and answer your questions, whatever question you have based on the practical situation. So every month we'll have 3 sessions like that. And all sessions are done live, online. So you don't have to really travel or go anywhere. You can do from the comfort of your home. It's a video conferencing. So you could, like what we are doing today, you could look at the content, the screens, and you can hear the voice. Now, this is a webinar. There is a lot of people. So we try to not keep it interactive. Otherwise, it would be difficult. But in those calls, we keep it interactive. So you can also speak up. It's a conversation. And one leadership. So we have formulated a program for 2017, next year. And in the model I showed you, competency model, there are 12 competencies. And our plan is that in this program, we'll cover 1 competency each month. So in 12 months time, you will fully cover the whole leadership, CFO leadership framework by covering 1 competency at a month. With a good pace, you learn very deeply when you pace your learning rather than attending a 1-week workshop. You pace it like every week you're spending 2 hours. That's a far better quality of learning than fast-paced learning. And all sessions are recorded. So if you miss any session, you don't miss anything, because immediately all sessions you have attended previously or you have registered for will be available online to you to access anytime. And on top of it, like this presentation I'm running, there are more than 300 slides of proprietary content, which you won't find anywhere else on the books or anything else. That would also be available to you in PDF form. So that's the program. I just want to take opportunity to introduce it to you. I'm sure it's far more beneficial to you than any other programs or trainings available right now. And finally, we'll also make a Facebook active group where you could network with other peers, people like you. So as I said, networking is inevitable. You cannot ignore that. So the best way to find people, there are other people, other professional senior finance people. You network with them and also learn from them, teach them and learn them. It's an active peer-to-peer mentoring. So what is the cost of that? Of course, your time, which is very precious, but we try to design the whole program so it does not interfere with your work schedules. So during the work time, nothing is happening. It always happens either weekend or late evening, this time, 9 p.m. UA time. That is the most favorite time we do it. The cost we have put on this program is $97 per month. It's month to month. So every month you pay $97, and then you may decide to continue or not to continue. So it's flexible. Now, realize this cost is much affordable. My 12 weeks coaching program, people have paid up to $2,000 for 12 weeks, 3 months. And Mastermind is running at the $5,000 price tag, and it's already waiting list. So I try to bring something for people who could most people could afford it. So $97 per month, month to month, that's the subscription fee. But I'm making it even easier for you, especially this group of people sitting on this webinar. I really want to give you a favor. And my favor is I will reduce the price more than half, and I will offer you this program right now, and with a $50 discount every month, $47 per month for full year. $47, it's no brainer. The value you are getting for $47 per month is very much close to what people are getting in their mastermind after paying $5,000. But it is only for 20 seats. As soon as 20 seats are filled in, the price would revert to the 97. So take opportunity. I'm sure you may be interested, and you may cancel anytime. It's $47. If you are not happy after first month or 3 months, you can withdraw anytime, no question asked. Maybe your situation changes, and you will have full access to all sessions and recordings and PDF files during your continuity of the membership. So you can go through all previous sessions as well whenever you want it. And you can join from anywhere because no travel is required, no classrooms. It's all from the comfort of your home. You only need a high-speed broadband and a device to work upon. And usually, as I said, the session we do is 9 p.m. UAE time. It fits to most in the Gulf countries, in Saudi Arabia, as well as in Pakistan and India. This works well. So that's, I think it really the very attractive deal from a time and money investment point of view. On top of it, what I will do if you enroll in this program, I will give you a free template copy of my own killer CV. I call it a killer because for 10 years it's working so well for me as a CFO that I did not change it for 10 years, almost 10 years. And it has given me real 3 CFO level job offers, that one CV. And I use that CV to teach in my coaching program. I'll give you a Word copy so you can just take that and put your stuff word by word, format, line by line, format by format. Number 2, I'll give you also a copy of my finance for non-finance training material. It has more than 150 slides. And I encourage you to use those material to conduct a finance for non-finance training at your work, because that's the best way to establish your brand as an expert or a presenter or a speaker. And finally, this is a killer. Finally, if you enroll into this program for $47 a month only, I will sit with you for 20 to 30 minutes myself personally and go through your CV and LinkedIn profile and give you my advice, what you need to fix, what you need to improve. As I said, I was shocked by looking at some of the profiles and CVs, how simple it was to improve and people didn't realize. So I will spend my time with you just against if you are able to book a seat, register yourself into this program for $47. I will devote my time, at least 20-30 minutes, to sit with you and go through your CV and profile. Now, by now, so question is how to register, because I know this 20 seats will go very, very quickly. So by now, you should have received an email from Sabah in your inbox, which basically explains the brief details of the program, but also gives you a link. The link is CFO Coaching Club subscription. If you go on that link now or later, you will find a payment link for just for $47. You put your information over there and you use your credit card 47 and you are registered into the program, and then we'll start the process of your coaching. The last date for this program is 31st December. And as I said, that 20 seats, discounted 47 price is only for 20 seats. And we'll start the program from the second week of January. That's why we want to close the registration by 31st December and start really organizing the program so you could start benefiting from it. And that's it. So I hope you have gained some good, relevant, practical knowledge here, practical steps. So my final message, whether you enroll into my coaching program or not, it was not the main purpose. The main purpose was really to give you the relevant contents, practical insight, so you could apply it. I mean, coaching or no coaching, there is so much stuff I've given you. And look at my other free stuff. You can apply yourself and start your journey. That's more important. That from tomorrow or from today, if you have time, you started to consider yourself part of the top 5% of the professional finance community, not 95%, because 95% are sleeping right now. And they would not wake up. No matter what you do, they are not going to do these things. That's your opportunity. As part of the 5%, if you do this, you would develop a competitive advantage and you would become more noticeable and grab attention from the other people. So I'm looking at Sabha. She was compiling some questions which I would like to answer as much as possible. So give me a second just to set it up. So even if you have questions, you can just write down in the chat or question box, and we'll try to compile them and answer as fast as we could. I would like to stop at the scheduled time, because I know at many places it's quite late now. So we'll take another 10-15 minutes. Okay. Is a CPA crucial to become a CFO? No. CPA is not crucial, and accounting, a professional accounting qualification is crucial. So you have to have a CPA or chartered accountancy or CMA or some sort of professional accounting qualification. One qualification is good enough, whether ACCA, CPA, CA. But CPA, yeah, it's helpful, but CPA is not the only qualification which is crucial. You have to have one. Should we pay full year at once, or no, it's month to month. The program has been designed to really make it economically much more affordable. So I don't need all the money right now. As we go through the program, every month you learn, you pay 47, 1 month, second month, third month, and you also develop the confidence that you are making progress. So there is no expectation of full year payment. Okay. I would like to first thank you about your seminar. My question is the following. Where is the question? Okay. How we can evaluate the, wait a minute, I'm struggling with the screen. How can we evaluate the tangible of any company? I'm not sure what exactly the question is. Why do you want to evaluate tangible, or you want to say intangibles? So for public limited companies, you can always look at the valuation from the stock market. If you find a big gap into the market value and book value, this company definitely has a lot of investment in the intangibles. That is what you need to really think of, and that would tell you where your company stands compared to your competitors. Calling recruiters and discussing job roles is a good idea. I would prefer that recruiters call you, because if you actually, I'm not suggesting that you should not chase the jobs at all, but you should prefer to attract recruiters and employers rather than chase them. And the best way is to make yourself more noticeable. As I said, they are not posting many jobs. What recruiters are doing, they are searching on LinkedIn. And you need to ensure that when they search a certain position, a role for a certain position, then your profile comes up. And it's all about branding and putting the right stuff and making it more like a marketing document than anything else. What are top 3 methods of marketing that you shall recommend for finance professionals? Yeah, I already told you. Number 1, your branding, personal branding. Personal branding is not limited. So it starts with your LinkedIn profile. That's the first place to work on. But also in your communication, your personal communication, your CV, your presentation, it should come everywhere. I mean, when I was doing a full-time CFO job, everybody knew that I'm a strategy expert, because I would talk about strategy. I would offer trainings on the strategy. I would get involved into strategy. That's how you make your brand noticeable. So whatever your brand is, first of all, decide that, and then start doing those things. Okay, pick anyone. Okay. I'm a non-finance professional. I'm a supply chain professional. Will this program benefit me? Yeah. Although I have designed it mainly for finance professional, but I think 80% of that is equally applicable to any profession, because we are not talking about IFRS here. You already know more than enough accounting. This is the general leadership and strategy, which applies to each and every discipline. I would say 80 to 90% is really generically applicable to all disciplines. Okay, everybody has some intelligence and response to emotions. What is emotional intelligence in real sense? Emotional intelligence, first of all, I would suggest you that go to YouTube and search for Salim Sufi. You will reach to my channel. And in my channel, there's a beautiful video for 24 minutes on emotional intelligence. I'm very confident that in 24 minutes, you will get every answer you may have on the emotional intelligence. This is for all of you, if you could do that. It's a wonderful video, and I'm surprised how did I explain that complex subject in such a short period of time. But to answer your question right now, emotional intelligence is, first of all, creating your self-awareness. What do you do better? Where do you lack? And understanding the empathy part, the other people's emotion, and then relating it to make best out of it. So your own emotions, your other people's emotion, understanding it, and then making it for benefit, betterment of both the parties. That's all emotional intelligence is. Okay, thank you for this useful and very relevant content. What would you suggest to someone planning a career shift, for example, from HR to finance? Okay, so yeah, it all depends upon which point of career you are. And I think you have mentioned that your mid-career, that is 10 plus year of work in initial role. So if you are in finance, usually it's possible for finance people to move to other roles because there is not much technicalities involved. Usually people don't move to finance. Finance, you have to have the basic knowledge and basic qualification. So if it is from finance, I have seen people moving to a non-finance role, even in their seniority level, like plus 50 of age, like after spending 20, 30 years. The only thing, you have to work on your brand. If you want to move to HR, for example, people need to know that you are passionate about HR. People need to know that you know more than average about HR. And that would make your process of convincing the decision maker easier to accept you or invite you to that type of roles. This has been a very useful session. My question is, today's job market, what are the prospects of a qualified MBA to progress towards senior management CFO role? Okay, so if you heard me, I said earlier that to reach to the CFO role, you have to have at least one professional accounting qualification. Generally speaking, I mean, there might be some exceptions, but generally, it is expected that you have one professional accounting. Now, MBA is an academic qualification. It's a very good qualification. I myself is an MBA, but it's not a professional qualification. When I did my MBA earlier in my career and I decided to move to finance, I realized that without an accounting qualification, I would not be able to make much progress. So after completing my MBA, starting my career, I immediately registered myself for a professional accounting program, which I completed shortly, and then it was easier for me to make progress. So I would say MBA alone may be a little challenge to reach to the CFO level, but it's possible. Okay, thanks for such informative webinar. How will the payment please? Yeah, as I said, that you should have received an email in your inbox by now from Sabah, CFO Academy, and that email contains a link. Just click on that link. You will enter your information, basic information, and then you will pay $47, and then you are registered into the program. Your seat is booked. Is it worth if I engage a LinkedIn CV writer? Really depends how good the CV writer is. I have seen good and bad both. I've seen very good CV writers to do the job, and I've seen very horrible stuff coming from paid service from LinkedIn supporters or the CV provider. So you need to really evaluate. Try to find out the references first, what work they have done and whether their previous clients were happy or not. What is the schedule of the course? So schedule of the course is that the CFO framework, if you go back again to the diagram I shared with you, you will notice 12 leadership competencies under personal leadership, strategic leadership, and public leadership. So in 2007, 12 months, we are going to cover those competencies, one each month. We'll go in with much intensive level in detail. Emotional intelligence 1 month, personal branding 1 month, work-life integration another month, and that is how we'll cover one by one each month. So by end of the 12th month, you would have completed the whole CFO leadership framework. That's the idea. But as I said, the program is flexible. If for some reason you want to drop out the program in between, you can always drop out. put in the beginning, let me cover that. Okay, so let me take another 5 minutes to answer some relevant question where most people would benefit. Okay, the program is just for no. The question is, the program is just for CFOs? No. Mainly it is for the mid to senior level finance professionals. So we call it CFO Coaching Club, because in this program there would be CFOs as well, but mainly the people who are aspiring to become CFOs. So usually I suggest that if you are 2 or 3 level away from CFO, you are in the best position. So people like accounting manager, finance manager, senior finance manager, senior accounting manager, a chief accountant, financial controller, management controller, a finance director, and many times, I mean, in my CFO coaching program, there are several CFOs still in the mastermind as well as coaching program. CFOs are going through that program and finding it very useful. So the stuff or the learning we are talking about is very unique. First of all, I guarantee that you may not find similar program anywhere in the world, but this is the unique. I'm sitting here in New Jersey, USA. I know it much better that what is available, and there is not. That's what I'm talking about. This is an opportunity for us. If you learn this stuff, if you learn the CFO framework I'm sharing with you, and if you even spend 12 months on it, you would always be differentiated. You would be entirely in a different category, and it's an easy challenge to really accomplish. Okay, next question. I'm a qualified ACCA finance manager controller for past 7 years. Will MBA be helpful to next level, or should I look for CFA or PhD? Look, let me repeat the quote I shared a while ago. Formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. My suggestion is that if you have one good professional or academic qualification like ACCA or MBA, that's a good thing. You should be considered highly educated, right? And highly educated is sufficient being an MBA or ACCA or even CFA or PhD. Adding too many abbreviations next to your name, practically, generally speaking, is not much helpful. I mean, the time you want to spend in PhD, for example, or do MBA, if you learn this leadership and strategy stuff on your own, I think this would be regarded more from the practical point of view, from the organization, from a career point of view. Because as I said, even the companies like Google and Apple and Microsoft, they're hiring more non-college graduates now. Because they said, what do we do with the college degrees if you cannot handle the job? And if you can handle the job, we less care about the college degrees. So that is the new trend and phenomena happening. So I would suggest you, I mean, I'm not stopping you to do MBA or PhD if you want to. It would definitely help. It's not be completely wasted. But if you really have to make a better choice, probably focus on learning leadership and strategy on your own. Whatever comes your way, better to learn those things. What is future of finance in the ever-changing technology? Yeah. So future of finance is really, the role is shifting more towards strategy and leadership. This is what I told you, because with the presence of the very powerful ERP system, accountant's job is almost taken over by computers. In fact, if you ask me, I would say accountant is the wrong description of us, because there is no more accounting function exist. Accounting has been taken over by a strong ERP system. Yeah, it's decision support, is interpretation of the financial information. That is the role. And to do that, decision support, interpretation, and supporting the business, whether you are in auditing or treasury, everybody is required to support the business. And to support the business, you need to understand the business, and more importantly, the strategy part of the business, because more and more businesses are moving towards that. So that's the key and critical. How many classes in a week and timing? So as we said that in a month, we'll do 3 weeks. So 1 class each week, but 3 weeks, not 4 or 5 weeks. So 3 times a month. First class, I would be doing for 90 minutes group coaching, so sharing with you all the insights and new stuff. Second week, the whole group would come back with their question and comments. So it's a group sort of discussion and answering practical issues. The third week will bring an external expert like a CFO or executive recruiter, and they will answer your practical questions. So every month, 3 weeks, 3 classes in each week, 1 class. Total, I would say the 5 hours maybe. So 2 session, 2 hours, 4 hours, yeah, 5 to 6 hours. And you will have some assignments and exercises to do on your own. Please advise best book or course which is focused on finance for non-finance professional. Finance for non-finance professional. There are some good strategy. Finance for non-finance, I think, is difficult to learn through a book. You need to really go to a practical training or find someone, an expert in finance, to teach you. But you could understand some finance-related business stuff in some of the strategy books. If you drop me an email, probably I'll send you a list of the books. My email is very common. If you respond to these webinar messages, it will come back to my email, so you can contact me with your question. Is it appropriate to use Myers-Briggs type indicator as selling point in personal strategy? Look, Myers-Briggs is a very good tool for self-assessment to know where you are. Employers less care about it. Employers don't hire based on the people's Myers-Briggs type. So yeah, as I said, it's a very useful, effective tool, but you should not use it for your personal marketing, because people will less care about it. Okay, there is an interesting question. Which is more valuable, CPA or MBA? It depends which job you're taking. If you're going into marketing, of course, MBA is much more valuable. If you're going CFO route, CPA is more valuable. But the best thing is if you have CPA with a lot of good business knowledge, then you put yourself in the competitive edge. Okay, I'm going to finish this in taking the last question because we are a little over our schedule time. This one more, yeah. So this has been a very useful session. My question is, today's job market, what are the prospects of a qualified MBA to progress towards senior management CFO? As I said, that MBA, you could still make a progress, but that would be slow because you would not be considered as competitive as a CPA or chartered accountant. So if you have already done an MBA, try to do a quick CMA or CPA or CFA, some professional accounting qualification, and that would make you more attractive towards these roles. So guys, there are still a few more questions, but please, I don't want to take more of your time. Thank you very much for your passionate listening, and I hope the session was useful. Feel free to drop me questions if I have not answered your questions, or you have another question for me. Feel free to drop in my email, and I'll try to get back to you. But otherwise, I think that you have found the session very useful, and I'm sure I would be loving to really work with the 20 people who registered for this coaching club seats. Thank you very much and good night. Bye now.